For the next talk is Shaunelle, which is talking about giving everyone a voice in the WordPress. So it's an English talk. We don't have subtitles, so if you have questions at the end because I don't know you didn't get everything, don't hesitate. Et en fait, j'aurais dû le faire en français du coup, parce que vu que c'est un talk en anglais, si vous n'avez pas réussi à tout comprendre, n'hésitez surtout pas à aller la voir à la fin pour lui poser des questions. Voilà, donc on applaudit Shaunelle et c'est à son tour.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll try to speak a little slowly, so if I go a little fast, just tell me. WordPress is a part of all of our lives. That's why we're here at WordCamp. And whether you're a novice, so you're just starting, you're an early starter, or you're an expert, you are trying to bring your gifts to the world using WordPress. We all have a story, and we all started somewhere. Is there anybody here who is a novice or early starter or newbie in WordPress? Okay, good, okay. Not good because it's new, but good because you're here and you're starting your journey, and it's important for you to get some very important things in your mind as you start. Not just on the technical parts, but also just about why you're actually doing WordPress. So today, just to let you know up front, one of the things I really believe is that everyone has a story and everyone has gifts, and you can bring your gifts to the world. And what I have found is that WordPress has helped me, and it helps us to bring our story and our gifts to the world. So that's a little bit what I'll share about. It's a little different from the previous talks that we have, but it's just, what I like about WordCamps also, you have people with different experiences, and we bring different parts. So that's what I'm going to bring today. WordPress, giving everyone a voice. Well, just a little bit about me before we start. So I'm interested in airlines. I'm a pianist. I do photography. I took this picture in the Vallée de Joux. It's one of my favorite places in Switzerland. And WordPress is a part of my hobby. I like connecting with people. I like partnering with people to do things because I believe that we mix our strengths to bring things to the world. And I'm a creative. The last time I traveled was to Jamaica a few months ago. Before that, to Spain and Singapore. And finally, I've lived in 5 countries. So apart from Switzerland, where I've lived for the last 10 years, I've been living in, Jamaica, because I'm Jamaican, and Canada, Guyana, and the UK. And I came to Switzerland in 2012, my husband is there. And when we came that same year, we decided that we wanted to share from our experience living in Canada before and in Switzerland with our friends. And so we started our journey with a newsletter. So in the very early days, I thought, okay, how can we do this? So we did email, okay, we just sent an email. But I thought, why not have a more sustainable way to do it? If I wanted to do it on a regular basis, and so like the talk we just heard about in terms of having a newsletter and having, email subscribers and stuff, that wasn't the intention. It was really just for a closed group of family and friends to share my journey. But then we thought, okay, let's see what's out there. So my husband did some research, Joomla, Drupal, WordPress, WordPress.com, WordPress.org, which one? So we started to play around with WordPress.com, and soon we realized this was not what we wanted because the data is not yours. There's too much out of your control. There's too much dependency. There's the ads if you're going the free version and so on. So we decided WordPress.org. Now, I have a technical background. I did computer science in school, and my husband is very geeky on the hardware side. So between the two of us, we are not afraid of technology, and we thought, okay, let's try something really, really different. Let's get our own server. So we got our own server, a really basic, easy one, a basic one that's with a really low specs, just to kind of see, okay, what is WordPress all about? So we started our journey in WordPress doing personal hosting. I call it personal hosting because it's really self-hosting, but I wouldn't tell anybody it's self-hosting because We didn't do, it wasn't, I mean, it was just in our own environment, at home, in our network. So we could play around, we could fail, we could do something wrong, and it was okay because it was just us learning about WordPress. And so when you're starting your WordPress journey, I would encourage you, try to have an environment where you can play around. It's staging. When you get into your full WordPress development, you want to make sure you have your staging site. But when you just start, just make sure you feel free and comfortable to fail, because you learn by failing. So we did that. We got a WD server and we fooled around. It was okay, but it served the purpose. Then, oops, wrong way. In 2016, we decided, okay, let's step up a little bit. We're at the limits. So we got a QNAP server and we configured it. One of the pluses of getting the WD at the beginning when we were just starting was that it came with WordPress pre-installed, PHP admin was there, all the basic things to get started. So that was a selling point. So we ventured out and said, okay, let's put our foot into the water a little deeper. We also had got some ideas because we realized the potential of WordPress, and we thought about our friends and family back in Jamaica who were solopreneurs, so entrepreneurs, but just the one person doing the service, the administration, sweeping the floor, doing the marketing, one person doing everything, but not spending a lot of time marketing themselves. And we thought, what if we were able to have a website, like a marketplace, to host solopreneurs, I call it, and just give them a web presence, very, very basic, just one page. This is back in 2015, 2016. What if we did that? So we thought about that, and so we got a URL, and at the time it was connecting you to, because it was meant to connect people together to businesses. We made a mistake and we gave it well, I would say a mistake. We used the XYZ domain, so connecting you to .xyz. I mean, okay, it was cheap. We were starting. We said, let's see. I regret it a little because it's one of those where when you start to integrate with mail programs and you have a webmail from a XYZ, it's not very good. So we found that out later on, but I'm just telling you the journey. This is where we went. So in 2016, this is what we did. But then something happened at a personal level that impacted and changed the focus for a while. So although we started talking with a few, like one small business to try to understand what it could be like and to see how this would really work, something happened to me personally. When I was 15 years old, my mother died, and I didn't really grieve. And it was only in 2018, I went to a monastery for a few days on a silent retreat. And at this retreat, I just made a decision that I was going to start my healing journey. So it's very personal, nothing to do with WordPress, but just to say that this is a part of my story and what happened next with WordPress. And I decided that I wasn't going to suppress my feelings anymore. I was going to feel the pain and heal, just go on a healing journey. And because I'm a pianist, I used music as a part of my journey. So I started playing the piano, and I was looking for music. I couldn't find what I needed. I played, and I liked what I played for myself. So I started playing it, and I wanted to hear it more and more. So I started recording. I started recording music so that I would hear it when I go to work, and so on. I started keeping it on. We have speakers at home, these wireless speakers. I would take it with me in the different rooms just to have it playing in the background. My husband said to me, Shaunelle, why don't you share this music? I like it. I said, no. I'm not sharing this music because it's very personal. It's helping me to grieve. It's about, it's really intimate for me. I'm not going to share this. It's like sharing my heart. And he said, but yes, you should share it. So after a few months, I decided that he was bothering me too much, and I would then go ahead and share the music. So WordPress became the way to share this part of me and my life with the community. And so I opened it up. So then you search for the themes and the plugins for this purpose. And so my focus then became on content, writing the story behind sharing why I'm sharing this music, sharing my journey with people and sharing the music. So that's when I got introduced to email lists and mailing lists and the whole, it's a world by itself. We just heard before a little bit from that. It's a world by itself, but like, how do I connect it now with WordPress? Like, how does this work all together? So I had to go through and figure that part out. And in the end, I chose MailerLite. MailerLite is the mail program that I chose. And it served my purpose because it was really easy to use, very, very simple. And it could be standalone, but I could also integrate it. So eventually what I did was to use a MailerLite plugin on my website to get people's names for those who wanted to hear more about my journey and to get the music that I started offering. So that was, I was getting a little deeper into the content. Wordcamps became an anchor, and Wordcamps became a really, it was just a community. So I went to the first one and I found out about it. Actually, I was traveling for work in 2016, and it just so happened that there was a WordCamp in New York at the same time. So I went to that one, my first WordCamp, then I came to the one in Geneva. And once I came to WordCamp, I realized I had to be at all the WordCamps once they're being held, because of the community, because of the acceptance, and just the way of the contributing spirit of contribution and so on really meant a lot to me, and it resonated with me. So I've been coming to WordCamps all along. But then something significant happened. It got broken. This is the email that I sent in 2019. Dear friends, connecting you to .xyz is currently offline. If you are one of those who stream your background music directly from the site, this could be disappointing. What happened? Plain and straight, an error on our web server. So I decided to be very transparent with my email list, and I told them there was an error on my server. And I told them, my husband Kerry and I, we built the website from scratch as a personal project. We bought web servers, we learned WordPress, and to be honest, it has been a tremendous learning experience for us. We have gained so much knowledge on this journey, both on the technical aspects as well as the softer side of sharing our lives and experience with you. We chose this because it was my husband's vision, and in the long run, we thought it would be more cost effective than paying for web hosting. So this allows us to share the music at no cost to you. However, when we came upon an error on our web server yesterday, we realized it would take us a bit more time to address. And what really happened here is that I got hacked. That's really what happened. I got hacked. I dropped the guards. I mean, we're doing things on our own server. We were putting more security, but we just weren't careful enough. And that's one of the lessons that we learned. And we use it as an opportunity to revision. And so I said, when we started, we didn't anticipate that we didn't anticipate the impact the music would have had. And we didn't think we would have had over 300 active subscribers. So after 1 year of sharing, we have decided to call a timeout and reflect to see what's next. And we're taking this seriously. And so if you want the music, then let me know and I'll send it to you directly. So we decided to pause. And sometimes as a part of our lives, it's important to pause and step back because things don't always go right, and we don't always do things the right way. So it didn't take me very long to decide that we would move away from hosting it ourselves and move to real self-hosting, like get a real provider and let them do what they're meant to do, what they're experts in. We had learned enough to be comfortable, we had learned enough to know what to look for and what was important for us as a hosting provider. So so I moved from what I say personal to true self-hosting. And I can't remember what I have next. Right. So we moved, I won't go into the details. We chose a provider, we migrated our site. And, you know, as I was listening to the presentation earlier on the SEO, I'll come to SEO later, because based on our journey, SEO wasn't important. We were just sharing our little story with a small community. I wasn't trying to be found. And it did not matter to me personally, because that's just our context. And it's just one of the learnings that one of the things I've learned too is that as we listen to the different, as we participate in WordCamp and we, you know, collaborate and so on, at the end of the day, it's always important for you to know what your journey is. You need to know what your focus, your goals are, and then you prioritize what you focus on at a given point in time based on your goals and where you are going. So by this time, I moved to a hosting provider. I migrated everything, you know, all the gymnastics behind to do that. I did that, that was fine. Then 2020 happened, COVID happened. In between that, what I started doing was inviting people into my home to play the piano for them, to stop and sit a while and just be quiet and be still, because I think people are going so much that there are things in our lives that we don't pay attention to. So I brought the music to a more, from being just out there to my subscribers, to being more intimate in my home. And I started doing that, and people were, I mean, small, but it was very helpful for those who came. And then COVID happened, and then we had lockdown, so I said, sorry, we can't do that. So I did that for about 5 months between 2019 and February 2020. But then it opened up the world of online. Now I had to figure out, how do I integrate Zoom, Calendly, all these tools? What are the new tools that I need to kind of make this happen? Because then I started focusing on self-care, taking care of yourself in the crisis so that you could be resilient. And I started sharing some of my own journey, again, using WordPress. So then my focus was on this. And just to give you a sense of some of what I have been using, so from the themes, I've tried and played around with these themes at some point in time. And the theme, at the beginning, I didn't really understand the importance of choosing one theme over another. Now I realize, because it's the platform on which you're building, the core features of, or the core strengths of the theme need to resonate with your goals. It needs to support your goals. Most themes have the basics, but then there are some who, obviously there are some that have a different strength. Some are meant to support audio sharing and media sharing differently, and it's a strength. Some are geared towards and have a lot of templates and so on for media producers. And so you have to decide what your goal is, to decide what's the best theme and what's what the associated plugins should be used. And I know for the experts, you know this, I'm just saying it a little bit for those who are starting, just to bear it in mind. So I used these, and for the plugins, Stackable Audio Igniter is the plugin I chose to help to support me with the music. MailerLite is the email program that integrates, and I use Countdown as well, because then I started having events, online retreats and so on. So this tied very well into it. So WordPress, it helps us to share our gifts to the world, with the world. And along the way, you'll have some decisions to make. You need to decide, are you launching a WordPress site for business or for pleasure or for pleasure? So a mixture of both. Are you going to choose your hosting, managed hosting, where you're going to have someone do a lot of the work for you on the platform? Or are you going to have want to keep the autonomy to actually do that yourself? Choosing your domain name, your URL, is super important. whether you're going to stay with the free plugins or you're going to get the premium versions because it aligns with your strategy. So I had some decisions to make. I'm choosing to purchase premium plugins because of the kind of service that I wanted to provide. Although I personally, so I've been doing it for leisure. This is a hobby. It's still a hobby. It's not a business for me. So I don't have the same urgency as someone who has to make money from this. But it's, I think my philosophy is whatever I'm giving, I want to give the best of it to whoever, you know. So it will cost. Sometimes it will cost. Well, it will cost. Do you go solo or do you get support? The non-negotiables, what you cannot ignore. You need to have your staging. You need to have a backup site. You need to get your security in place. And having support and a community to plug into is important, whether it's a community in terms of the WordPress community or the community associated with your plugins. And yeah, and then learning what's new, what's keeping on top of what's next, especially with WordPress. You know, over the years we have had the improvements when the block editor came, Gutenberg, and then you know it caused a lot of changes. But you want to keep on top of what's coming so you can prepare for it. In terms of choosing your themes and plugins, I mentioned some of this, but on a more generic way. You choose the themes and the plugins that support your gifts. You have a special gift, you have a special story that you need to tell, and you're helping the world. So choose what is going to support you. Choose one that will instill confidence by those who will use your services and that works very well for your core content, that performs well and that's reliable, and take the learning curve into account. At the very minimum on your web page, you want to ensure that you have something that talks about who you are, because it helps people to know if they can trust you or your expertise or whatever you are offering them. Give them a taste of what you have to offer. Have a way for people to get in touch with you and be notified when they do, and any notifications that need to be connected. And ensure that you articulate and talk about what the transformation is. If someone goes to your website, it's because they want help in something or they want to be better at something. So ensure that when you're expressing how whatever services you bring, you're actually doing it in such a way that you're telling them how it can benefit them. It's not just about telling them all the things you can do, but what it will do for the person that is coming to your website. So my voice and my gift is sit a while. I call it sit a while because I create through the music a space for people to pause instead of running, rushing all the time, to pause and to be still, to reflect, to get calm. And that's how, and WordPress has helped me to spread my message in this way. And so what's next for me? I am looking to bring my website up a level. Now I'm trying to be more inclusive. I want to pay attention to the accessibility. I want to ensure that I have French on my website. It's not just all in English because I live in a French community. So if I want to connect with more with the people that are physically in this space, I need to have that as well. And I need to do SEO because now through my journey, I realized that I'm more convinced that everyone has a gift and a story. And when we bring our gifts to the world, we help to make the world a better place. And so why hide it? Why not? If you can share it more, why not? Don't hold back. And so for that reason, I want to become discoverable. I want people to know that if you have if you need some music to keep you calm, I can offer you something too alongside others. So that's what I'm now thinking through. How can I have a greater impact with my gifts to the world? And so with that, finally, oops, wrong direction. I will say to three of you, if you're an early starter, it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming at first, but stick to what your goals are. Whatever your message is, whatever transformation you want to bring, Stick to that as your keep that as your focus, and choose what is absolutely necessary to get your story out. You don't have to have all the answers for everything at the beginning. Choose the core and start there and maximize it and focus on the transformation, because you will learn as you go along. And for those who are more advanced and you're intermediate, I would also say the same thing. Keep your story as the focus. However you are helping the world, keep that as a focus while you're learning new things and exploring new capabilities in WordPress. And finally, what could I say to experts? Because I'm not an expert, but I will just say thank you. If you're an expert, you are helping us and helping all of us to get our stories out to the world. So thank you very much for that, and keep doing it. And I would also say sometimes, especially if you have a business in using WordPress and helping people with their WordPress sites, you can get very caught up in the technical aspects of getting it out there. But if you also remember your story, your WordPress story, put yourself in the shoes of someone who is just starting and what's important, and keep that also in the center, and even help your customers to focus on their story, I think it adds another level of meaning to the work that you're doing as an expert in this field. Okay? And so with that, I will say keep learning, and thank you very much for listening. And are there any questions?
Do you have some questions?
Oh dear. No hard questions, please.
My name is Stefan. I'm from WordPress Baden. I have a meetup group. And yes, I was not at the beginning of your presentation here. And just your opinion of a new TLD mode domains, which is example we're ending for point music and point band and so on. What do you think about investing in the domain name? Just your personal opinion.
Yes, so I think there are two answers to this. Well, it depends is always a good answer. But the one thing I say is that the person is going to decide. So for me personally, I would not do a .music. Why? Because music for me is the vehicle, but it's not the focus. Okay, so I don't need you to like my music. In fact, I tell the people on my mailing list, I tell them, take time to pause whatever music you want. I have music that could help you if it resonates with you, but take the time to pause. That's my message. So my message on a .music site, it would be confusing. That's not my core message. So but as a domain name, I think it's fine. I mean, if that's your focus and that's where you're heading and that's what you need to communicate, then yes, that's what I would recommend.
Do you have some questions?
Thank you for sharing your story. I really love it. My question is rather technical.
Okay.
You emphasized staging that allows failing. So what do you use for staging and deployment? Yeah,
so right now, I've migrated to a hosting provider, and so I have a staging site. So I make a snapshot of live, and I make my changes there, and then I test and test and test, see if I like it, and then I would redeploy it back into production. I have daily backups, and I have had to restore from backup to 4. So I have that process in place now. I totally believe in it. It's a must. It's a must if you're scaling and if you are serious. Yeah. So is that what you want to?
How do you deploy? Just by copying the whole website, or?
So it depends. So if I'm making a change to just a page, I only redeploy the page itself. I don't redeploy the site because of the nature of the change. And to be honest, there have been times when the change is so minor in my estimation, or in my judgment, is that I would just replicate it in production. I wouldn't necessarily remigrate it just because it's my choice. And I can take the risk, and I have daily backups as I have these fallbacks as well, so it's fine. Thank you for the question.
And one more time before leaving, just a little applause for Shaunelle, please. Thank you.
Thank you.